Good morning. We're here after our yoga class this morning and our weightlifting class, so we look a little disheveled, but please forgive us. And we're going to be talking about how to relieve stress. Stress is all too commonly associated with some major health problems like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, depression, and yes, even suicide. A lot of us have known people in our lives that have taken their own lives because they're depressed and feeling bad. But how do we deal with this? There are simple things that you can do to relieve stress in your life besides take a pill. Let's try to get away from those medications as much as possible, because with every medication, it leaves chemicals in your body that you may not need. We're going to go over some very simple ways to relieve stress. If you listen quietly, we have music playing in here, very stress-relieving, Zen-type music. So find a relaxing type of music, plug it into some headphones, put it on for about 15 minutes, and just listen to music. That's a great way to relieve stress. Another way to relieve stress is to call your best friend, have a chat, talk it out. Talk it with somebody that you trust, somebody that you can vent to. That's very effective to relieve stress in your life also. You could also talk to yourself. Talk to yourself. Find a mirror. Get with yourself, the one that loves you the best. That should be you. Talk with that person. Talk it over. Cry it out. Have a good cry, 10 minutes, and then done. Time yourself. Don't cry all day. Don't talk to yourself all day. Just take a moment and talk to yourself. Talk it out. You could absolutely eat something. A lot of us eat comfort foods. And that's what the rest of our lesson is going to be about today. Comfort foods. And we're going to find out how to cook them in a more natural way so that they're good for you, besides macaroni and cheese out of a box, which we all love. We really do. You could absolutely watch something on TV that makes you laugh. A comedian, or listen to jokes or read jokes online. Laugh. Find a way to laugh. And also, you could do yoga or exercise. Any form of movement is going to lower your cholesterol, lower your cortisol levels in your body, make you feel more relaxed and less stressful. And exercise is of great importance in keeping that flexibility. When you feel better, you look better. When you look better, you feel better. It's sort of twofold. When you exercise, it's good for you in 2 or 3 different ways. Also, be sure you're getting enough sleep. Sleep is good in reducing stress. If you are so tired you're falling asleep at a stoplight, you need some sleep. There are many essential oils that you can get that will help you sleep at night, and they're not taken internally, it's externally. You can also try white noise, taking melatonin, or just drinking a hot beverage at night, not coffee. Stay away from the caffeine. Try some chamomile tea. That's a great way to get to sleep at night. Or have someone rub your back for you until you fall asleep. That's very good. Breathe. Find a way to breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And just take a moment to concentrate on your breathing. When you concentrate on your breathing, you're going to lower your cholesterol levels and you're going to feel so much less stress. Then you can handle the situation with ease and it won't be a problem anymore. Now let's get back to what we were talking about. Jennifer is here with me today with her list. And her list, like all of you, you'll probably hear some recipes in here that are something that you like to cook for your family. But we find a lot of times, sometimes we get in trouble eating. And I know back when I was a much larger person, I had some comfort foods myself. They included a double fried fish sandwich, large fries, and Pepsi Cola, a half a bottle of wine, and a pack of cigarettes. Not anymore. That's really not good. So let's find out some things that we can eat as comfort foods that are good for us. And Jennifer's going to be reading off one thing at a time. We'll be discussing some of these things as we go along. So Jennifer, what's the first thing on your list that you like to prepare?
Let's go with tacos.
Tacos, aren't they yummy? To prepare a taco, we usually start with ground beef, and then we put in the seasonings, and it's usually a little seasoning packet. Most of us have used that, and we pour it into the pan, and then we'll use some chopped lettuce or onions and cheeses and things like that. To prepare a taco or a taco-ish kind of food, you need to really start with some whole wheat tortillas. Now these are going to be flappy like burritos, okay, but I'm going to teach you how to crisp them up. They're really easy. You're going to get you a package of whole wheat, those little tortillas. On the side of the package, it should say the only ingredient is cracked whole wheat flour or 100% whole wheat flour. It shouldn't be a list of 15,000 different things. And you're going to push those over to the side. In a pan, you're going to start with grass-fed ground beef. Grass-fed ground beef can be found here in Rock Hill. I've only found it at 2 places, at Harris Teeter and over at the Earth Fair. Start with a pound of grass-fed ground beef. You're going to brown it up. It's not very fat, so you won't have a lot of fat to pour off of it. And then you're going to put in with that, when it gets nicely brown, a little salt and pepper to taste, some cumin, C-U-M-I-N, 1/2 tablespoon of cumin, and 1 tablespoon of chili powder. Chili powder is actually a blend of spices, but we call it chili powder here. And you're going to stir that all up. You're going to add to that some onions that you previously chopped. You're not going to really cook your onions. You're just going to throw it in there until your onions are heated up. And you're going to serve this in like a plate or some kind of dipping thing that you can dip in, because it's not going to be served as tacos. You could serve this as like on chips. You're going to take your whole wheat tortillas and you're going to cut them in quarters. In other words, do a little crosshatch cut across the top of them. And you're going to put these in an oven at about 300 degrees. And you'll lay them out flat on a piece of parchment paper. Now, as they dry, they're going to curl up and get real crispy, like crackers. You're going to put that in the bottom of your plate. You're going to put your meat on the top of it. And then you're going to top it with chopped lettuce, chopped avocado, chopped tomatoes, extra onion if you like that too. Some cilantro you can chop up in there. It gives it great flavor. And as far as the cheeses go, use an almond-based cheese. You can buy this. It's made out of the almond milk. They make a really good shredded cheddar one. Or use a natural cheddar cheese and just slice up a very little bit of it, sprinkle it on the top. As far as sour cream, if you like that also on there, instead of sour cream, which has a lot of fat in it, you can use plain Greek yogurt. It has a taste much like sour cream when you're using it in some of these dishes. And I think that will suffice that taco kind of a craving. And there's nothing wrong with eating meat as long as you know where the meat comes from. So that would be my suggestion about how to make a healthy taco kind of a thing. And what else do you have over there?
How about a pot roast?
A pot roast. Yum. Love some pot roast. There's a recipe for pot roast in the new cookbook, Hot Pots 101, by Miss Jo Dean. She comes from Illinois, and she makes a great pot roast. You start with, again, grass-fed beef. Got to know where it comes from. This great Australian grass-fed beef here. It can be any cut of beef, from a nice steak all the way down to rump roast or something like that, or short ribs too can be used. You cube it up. You roll these cubed pieces around in very, very hot olive oil or coconut oil can be used. But I prefer to use the coconut oil when frying at a high temperature like that because it doesn't smoke. Heat you up some coconut oil, some unrefined, unprocessed natural coconut oil, about 3 tablespoons full, in a very hot pan. Drop your pieces or chunks of meat, kind of like stewed beef in a way, into there and braise them. Roll them over in that hot grease until all the sides are brown very quickly. Remove it from the grease. Pour most of the grease out of the pan and then return it to the burner on a lower heat. Put chopped onions, chopped garlic, chopped celery, starting with your heart of vegetables, some baby carrots. You can even throw in there some potatoes. Now, potatoes are very important. A potato is good for you as long as you leave the skin on it. So if you can find any of those little round baby potatoes that are so good, just when you scrub them good and you put them in there, leave the skins on them and let them cook in there. And return your meat to the pan. Use a natural or organic vegetable broth. And this has a lot of flavor, more than... it will have more flavor than, say, water added back to it. Pour in just enough vegetable broth to cover everything that's now in your pan. Then you're going to bring all that to a boil and let it simmer after that. You're going to reduce your heat and let it simmer and cook. And it's going to become a little thicker and a little thicker. If the sauce in there is not thick as you need it, this is going to add some extra sugar to it. If you want to, not have too much sugar in there because you're looking at type 2 diabetes or something, you can leave this part out, and it's perfectly good as a pot roast with vegetables. You can add at the very end, take a little bit of cornstarch, like a tablespoon of cornstarch, put it in a little teacup, coffee cup, something that's easy to stir in. Add just enough water to make it look like milk, and keep stirring it very quickly until it looks like milk. And then raise the temperature of your pot to boiling. Pour it in slowly as you stir, and it'll thicken up all that beautiful, yellowy, wonderful broth. Now, right before you serve it, you're going to want to add some herbs and things to give it some flavor. Garlic is always good, a good idea. Thyme gives it a wonderful, savory flavor. If you're using fresh thyme, about half a cup chopped. If you're using dried thyme, just a tablespoonful will be good, and salt and pepper, and that'll give it all the flavor that you really need in there with that nice thick gravy. And then when you go to serve it with a great potato roll. Potato rolls are made with mashed potatoes instead of white flour, and they're good. They are soft, and they're really good with that. So if you need that whole recipe, just look up Jodine's Beef Stew recipe in Hot Pots 101, and that's in there. That's one of those recipes. What else do you have for us today?
How about a chicken pot pie?
Ooh, chicken pot pie. She want me to do the pastry. Okay. A chicken pot pie. We like chicken pot pies because, number one, they are easy. And number two, you can make them really fast, just throw them in your oven. So you want to make something, and you might have to set aside a couple hours a day to make a bunch of these pies so that you can cook them up later. The first thing you need to be concerned about is the pastry part of it. Now, there are organic pastries that you can buy already made. These are very popular, and yes, you can do that. But I would suggest still use the pastry with the white flour because it's flaky, but only use a top crust instead of a top and bottom crust, which doubles all of that bready stuff. So we want to cut down on that white flour by only using the crust part on the top. And yes, you can buy a pre-made crust, or you can make a crust. A crust is very simple to make. It's 1 part or 1 cup of white flour. You can also use rice flour or sorghum flour or any kind of flour that you can get. It's fine. You take, and some places say lard or shortening. Let's not use that. Let's use, instead of that, in that crust, if you're going to make your own crust, use butter. 100% creamery butter, no salt. And you're going to chop that butter while it's soft and work it into the flour. Then you're going to add just enough ice water to get it to work out into your dough. Roll it out and cut little rounds out of it that are as big as the top of whatever little pan or ramekin. I would suggest a ramekin to use. If you want to use a family size, you can use pie tins or pie plates or whatever. But cut it that round. Just cut however many that you need out of it. Then you can have it. Don't forget to vent it. That's going to be the most important part, is vent the top of those pies. Inside, you can start by using an organically raised chicken. You're going to take this chicken and you're going to put it in your crock pot with just enough water to cover it and cook it all night long. Just by itself, cook the chicken. Take it out the next morning, make sure it's cool enough to touch, and bone it out. You're going to save what's in your crock pot to make some of the sauce that's going to go back in the pie. Now to this, the chicken is already there. You're going to add cooked vegetables. You can also buy these vegetables very easily by going into the freezer department at your store and getting a mixed bag of vegetables. Just says mixed. It has usually lima beans, corn, potatoes, carrots, all that. Just buy it already chopped up, already mixed vegetables. Pour that in with your chicken and stir it up. For the saucy part, all you need to do is take the broth that's in your pot and make what's called a roux. It's very simple. You can use corn flour, or it's called mesa, M-A-S-A flour. It's the same type of flour that they use to make tortillas. And with this mesa flour, you can do what we did before with the cornstarch. You take a little bit of water, you mix it with the mesa flour until it makes sort of a thick liquid. And then while your vegetables and stuff are in the sauce, in the broth on top of the stove. Bring it to a boil. Pour the mesa flour in there and stir it up. For the as it simmers after that for about 15 minutes. You don't want to cook it to death. You just want to get it heated through so that it's all blended together and it's all good flavor together and the sauce is thick. You're going to then let's see. Oh, spices. I forgot where I was. We're going to use basil, thyme, and oregano, salt and pepper, with just a tiny little bit of sage. If you're using fresh, again, you're going to use a 1/4 cup chopped of each of these things. And so you're going to have little leaves floating around it. It's going to be just beautiful. If you're using dry, use a 1/2 teaspoon of each one of these. Thyme, basil, oregano, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of sage. And the sage, as you put it in there, it's going to start smelling like Thanksgiving. It's going to be wonderful because that's really good with chicken. Then to make the pies, all you're going to do is scoop all this wonderful goodness into each pie pan, filling it 2/3 of the way up, and then topping them off with that beautiful little dough on the top. You can freeze them or you can put them in your oven for 15 or 20 minutes just so the top of it gets golden, because everything inside the pie is already cooked. The top of the pie just needs to be golden brown. So you can put it inside your oven at, say, 375 to 400, about 15 to 20 minutes. And you'll have a wonderful chicken pot pie with lots of vegetables, instead of the one that we get from the store that's a piece of bread, little pieces of sort of kind of chicken, and maybe a few vegetables and a bunch of gravy. It makes it better for you with the more vegetables. And so what else do you have for us today?
How about a chicken Alfredo pasta?
Chicken Alfredo pasta. There's a wonderful Alfredo sauce that can be made from crushed soaked cashews. That is the most wonderful, yes it is. It looks, tastes, smells, has the same consistency as that. I would start with that chicken, or organically raised chicken, probably just the breast meat. Grill it in a pan with some coconut oil, salt, and pepper, so you have grilled strips of chicken. Okay, you're going to lay that to the side. You're going to soak cashews, raw, not roasted, raw cashews. Soak them in water, covering them overnight, maybe about 1 cup to 2 cups, depending on how big you want to go. If you want to go family size, 2 cups cashews raw with water to cover them, and you're going to soak them overnight. Then what you're going to do is the next morning, you're going to put those cashews in your blender, and you're going to blend them until they're absolutely milky, soft looking. Okay, and it's going to have a creamy, nutty, yummy, yum flavor, just like Alfredo sauce. And to this, while it's still in the blender, you're going to add cracked black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, a tablespoonful of apple cider vinegar. Wonderful. Okay, and then you're going to take, for the Alfredo, you know, we're all about Parmesan and stuff like that. We'll do the Parmesan on top of the noodles as they come out. Now, if you're going to do a noodle with that, now you just set that off to the side. So now you got your saucy Alfredo stuff. You got your chicken that's roasted. You want to use this, like if you're going to make this recipe, you want to make it and feed the people, because it does not save. There's something about the nuts that will not save in your refrigerator. It will split and become really cakey and yucky looking. You don't want that. So use this right before you do your stuff. For the pasta part, always choose a whole wheat or a whole grain pasta. With an Alfredo sauce, because it is a thick sauce, you're going to need a flat noodle, like or a spaghetti noodle or something like that. Nothing that looks like an elbow or a shell, because that'll be too much. Get something that's stringy. That's the kind of noodle that you need. And make sure that's cooked and set off to the side. If you also want to use rice noodles, that's a very good idea. Rice noodles can be bought very easily at any store, and they're usually in the Oriental food section. They're called stir-fry noodles, usually is what they're called. And they're just long white strips. You get your vegetable, you get your water boiling on top of the stove, just like you're going to cook spaghetti, but it's real easy with rice noodles. You throw them in there. And then you cut the heat off. You stir them up, they're done. After about 5 or 10 minutes, you can go back and check on them. They're not going to get any more done than perfect. So you can always use those. And that's a real easy way to get any kind of noodles without using the more expensive whole wheat or organic stuff. You can still eat rice noodles and not get that big spike of that glycemic index stuff going on. And so let's see. So we got the sauce and we got the noodles. To serve this, I would spread the warm noodles out on top of the plate. Pour a little dollop of that lovely Alfredo nut sauce on top. If you don't tell anybody it's made out of nuts, they're never, ever going to know. And then sprinkle just a skosh of grated real Parmesan cheese. We all had a scare last week of the Parmesan cheese having tree bark in it. Well, that's what cellulose is. It's in everything. Somebody just freaked out because they understood then what cellulose was. It is ground up trees. And they use this in every package of already grated up cheeses to keep stuff apart. So if you can, buy a chunk of Parmesan, grate a little bit of it, and sprinkle that on top, and then lay your little slices of chicken on top. And that would be a great meal to have. And I always serve a salad with that because there was absolutely no vegetables in that at all. So a great big green salad with some tomatoes would be good with that. Do you have another one that you could share with us that you love?
How about the potato soup we were talking about?
Oh, potato soup. Potato soup. I love potato soup. We call it having the soup belly, that warm, nice feeling that you get. That's very relaxing, very stress relieving. Potatoes, like I said, not bad as long as you leave the skin on. Take your little baby potatoes and quarter them, put them in a pot, and just cook them, cook them, cook them, cook them. You're going to add to that some fine chopped onions, maybe a Vidalia onion, so it gives that sweetness to the back of it. You're also going to need some garlic. It's really good with garlic in it. You can even add corn to a potato soup if you want to give it some texture within the soup itself, or some grated up carrots. But you're going to cook this. And we all want to add butter. Butter is kind of good for you as long as you count on the caloric content of it. I would actually, for a big pot of soup, your big pot, a half a stick of butter, real butter, not margarine, real creamery butter. Put that in there. You're not going to eat a gallon of this soup. You're going to eat one bowl of this soup and you're going to be done with it. And for the cream base, again, cream, dairy, things like that are not bad for you. Just make sure that they are the unpasteurized kind. And you can get unpasteurized dairy products that still have the wonderful, wonderful stuff in there that helps you digest it at the Earth Fair. Because it's not processed. It's not pasteurized to death to where they've killed all the wonderful ingredients that we need to have our bodies assimilate that well. So you're going to cook your potatoes, cook all your vegetables. It's going to be kind of a clear brothy thing. And then add to that your cream. Add to that your butter. And just keep cooking and stirring. The potato starch themselves, as they cook, are going to thicken up the whole soup. And this could be very well done in a crock pot. But don't put your cream in till the last thing because you don't want it to curdle. Put everything in the crock pot, just minus the cream part. And then when it's done, add your cream, add your salt and pepper, add your little bit of maybe basil. Basil is very, very good with potatoes. So I would add to that a half a teaspoon of dried basil and a half a teaspoon of dried parsley. And why do I put stuff in everything? Why do I put those spices in everything? Because it gives it that savory, wonderful flavor. And you got to have flavor in stuff that's good for you, or you're not going to be eating it. You won't want a bowl of potato soup that tastes like just a potato. You want some of that savory goodness that goes with it. And some people even add a little dash of cayenne into the potato soup to give it a little peppery bite, especially if you're going to add the corn to it. Add the cayenne as well, just 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And you can also add roasted paprika, just a shake. It gives it a yellowy look to your dish, and paprika is very good for you too, or turmeric. It will give a yellowy look to the soup and become almost medicinal, and it will relax you too, because cayenne pepper is good for cleaning out. After you've been sick, it really helps in rejuvenating the body. Is that good? Good. Well, we hope that you guys have enjoyed sitting in with me and Jennifer talking about food. I'm hungry. I don't know about you. I want me something to eat. I'm going to go cook me something. I think we're going to do something here in just a minute. But thank you all for joining us, and I hope you guys can use some of these recipes. Again, go to PhoenixStrengthYoga.com and check out some of the recipes there. And be on the lookout for Hot Pots 101. The new cookbook should be coming out here in a couple of weeks. I know I keep promising. It just gets bigger and bigger. I keep cooking the good stuff. And hearing about all these recipes, I know we're going to have one in there for potato soup. Sounds good. See you guys later. Have a great day.